Hey everyone, welcome back to Genai World News. We've got a packed show today, so let's get straight into it. We start with a major development in the Middle East. According to BBC News, the United States has lifted its naval blockade of Iran following a newly struck agreement between Washington and Tehran. But this deal is already surrounded by tension. Iran's supreme leader has come out publicly saying he disagrees with the terms, and went even further by claiming that President Trump signed it out of, quote, desperation. That's a pretty pointed message for what's supposed to be a diplomatic breakthrough. And the backdrop here is deeply sobering. Also reporting from BBC News, thousands of people have been killed during the U.S.-Israeli military campaign against Iran, but experts warn the real death toll may never be fully confirmed. Why? Because internet shutdowns, government restrictions, and media blackouts across the region have made accurate casualty reporting nearly impossible. Analysts say the combination of information warfare and access restrictions means the human cost of this conflict could be significantly higher than what's been reported. It's a grim reminder that in modern conflicts, the fog of war isn't just on the battlefield, it's in the data too. Meanwhile, BBC News is also reporting that Iranian cargo ships have begun making their way back toward the Gulf following the U.S. deal, with tracking data showing vessels departing from Malaysian waters, a signal that, at least economically, both sides are ready to resume some form of normal activity. Now let's cross to the United Kingdom, where a major political earthquake hit overnight. As reported by the Financial Times, Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham has won a decisive by-election victory in the Makerfield constituency, and this is about much more than just one parliamentary seat. Burnham beat out Nigel Farage's Reform UK party, and the win clears a path for him to return to Parliament as an MP. From there, he's widely expected to launch a challenge for the leadership of the Labour Party, which would put him in direct confrontation with sitting Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Burnham didn't mince words after the result. The Financial Times reports he issued a stark warning to Labour, calling this its, quote, final chance to change. That's a remarkable statement from someone who just won under the Labour banner. The FT also notes that Burnham's victory carries a broader strategic message. Fear of a Reform UK win actually drove voters, including some who backed the Conservatives in 2024, to cast tactical votes for Labour. So while Burnham wins, the result also suggests reform remains a real and potent threat in traditional working-class areas of England. The question now, as analysts at the Financial Times are asking, is what comes next? Burnham is clearly positioning himself for a leadership run, but how quickly Starmer responds to this internal challenge will shape the entire trajectory of British politics heading into the next general election. From political drama to corporate scandal, and this one is a serious one. According to the Financial Times, KPMG Australia is facing explosive accusations in a bruising Senate hearing. Senators have been grilling the firm over what's being described as a culture of fear and retribution inside one of the world's most recognized audit brands. And here's the detail that really grabbed headlines. The former head of audit at KPMG Australia admitted to senators that the firm accessed a whistleblower's personal laptop. Let that sink in for a moment. A major accounting firm, one trusted to uphold financial integrity, is accused of surveilling someone who came forward with concerns. This isn't just a reputational crisis for KPMG. It raises serious questions about how internal accountability actually works inside Big Four audit firms, and whether the people who try to speak up face consequences rather than protection. Senators did not appear impressed. The hearing was described as deeply uncomfortable for the firm's leadership, and you can expect regulatory and political pressure on the Australian audit sector to intensify significantly in the coming days. Shifting now to American politics, where the 2026 midterm season is heating up fast, and Maine is shaping up to be one of the most fascinating battlegrounds in the country. Politico is reporting that Matt Dunlap has won the Democratic primary for a key congressional seat in Maine, defeating a candidate who had the backing of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, the DCCC. That's notable because it shows grassroots energy can still beat party establishment money when the right candidate is in the race. The seat is now considered a top-tier battleground, largely because Democratic Representative Jared Golden chose not to seek re-election, leaving it wide open for either party. And if that wasn't enough Maine politics for you, also from Politico, the state's race for governor is now set. Democrat Hannah Pingree and MAGA-aligned Republican Bobby Charles emerged as their respective nominees after a tense night of vote counting under Maine's ranked choice voting system. The Pingree versus Charles matchup is shaping up to be a high-profile test of whether Trump-aligned politics can win a statewide race in a purple New England state. So national eyes will be watching Maine closely this cycle. Now here's a story that's getting a lot of attention in the tech and business world, and honestly, it feels a bit like a reality check for the AI boom. The Financial Times is reporting that some of the biggest early adopters of artificial intelligence, names like Amazon, Walmart, and Uber, are now pulling back on AI usage inside their organizations. Why? Because the costs have simply spiraled beyond what many budgets can comfortably absorb. Companies that threw open the doors to AI tools are now introducing spending caps and actively discouraging what they're calling wasteful AI activity. One executive quoted by the FT reportedly described the situation as, and this is a direct paraphrase, "We created a monster." That pretty much says it all. The promise of productivity gains from AI is very real, but so is the bill that comes with it. Cloud compute costs, API usage fees, and the sheer volume of AI queries being run by employees have added up much faster than anticipated. This doesn't mean the AI revolution is over. Far from it. But it does signal a maturation phase where businesses are getting a lot more strategic and disciplined about where and how they deploy these tools. Expect to see more companies tightening the reins on AI expenditure in the months ahead. Over in Europe, a significant political fight is brewing over money, specifically, who pays for the European Union's next major budget. According to the Financial Times, wealthier EU member states are pushing back hard against expectations that they'll shoulder a larger share of the bloc's financial burden. Austria has been particularly vocal, with officials making clear that the richer nations of the EU are, quote, not an ATM. It's blunt language, and it signals that the negotiations over the EU's next multi-annual budget framework are going to be contentious. This tension comes at a difficult time for European unity, with ongoing pressure to fund defense, green transition, and economic support programs across the bloc. Wealthier Northern and Central European nations have historically been net contributors, but the scale of what's being asked, especially in the context of the Russia-Ukraine conflict and global economic pressures, is pushing tolerance to its limits. Separately, the FT notes that EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas is navigating a row over comments comparing Israel's policies to apartheid, with Kallas apparently choosing not to engage with what she's calling shadow fighting. It's a delicate diplomatic moment for Brussels on multiple fronts. We've got two important financial stories to wrap things up with, one global, one centered on Russia. First, the Financial Times is reporting that a perceived hawkish shift in U.S. Federal Reserve policy is sending shockwaves through global currency markets. Expectations that the Fed could actually raise interest rates, rather than cut them, have triggered a sharp reversal in bets on emerging market and commodity currencies. When the Fed turns hawkish, money flows back toward the U.S. dollar, and that squeezes currencies from Brazil to South Africa to Indonesia. Traders who had positioned for rate cuts are now scrambling to adjust, and the ripple effects are being felt across dozens of economies. And finally, a story that's generating real intrigue in financial and political circles. The Financial Times reports that Elvira Nabiullina, the long-serving and globally respected head of Russia's central bank, has been conspicuously absent from several recent high-profile events. That absence is fueling speculation about whether a leadership shakeup at one of Russia's most important institutions may be on the horizon. Nabiullina has been a key figure in managing the Russian economy through unprecedented Western sanctions, so any change at the top of the central bank would be a significant signal about the direction of Moscow's economic policy. All right, everyone, that is your global news rundown for June 19th. It has been a big day across the board, from the Middle East to Westminster to Wall Street. If you found this useful, please hit that like button, subscribe to Genai World News for daily global updates, and drop a comment below telling us which story you want us to dig deeper into. We'll see you in the next one. Like button, drop a comment with your thoughts on any of these stories, and make sure you're subscribed so you never miss a daily briefing. I'll see you in the next one.